quick message from our amazing sponsors. Being a great dentist and a great CEO at the same time is hard. Your day's packed with patients, but the business side never stops. Outdated software tools that aren't integrated make it worse. Patients jump through hoops, front desk drowns in follow-ups, and empty chair time quietly eats revenue. Meet your savior, Donna AI powered by CareCrew, your co-pilot for managing a successful dental practice. Donna has a deep, real-time integration to your practice management software in order to surface where production is hiding. Overdue recare, unscheduled treatment, short notice cancellations, and automate the follow-through. Let Donna reveal the health of your practice, supercharge productivity, and elevate the patient experience. Book your demo at carecrew.com/dod.carecrew.com/dod. At Crown Dental Studio in Surrey, BC, precision meets innovation. Trusted by hundreds of dentists across the Lower Mainland and beyond, they're the lab that brings digital dentistry to life. From full arch implants to single unit restorations, their fully digitized workflow delivers premium level results that are fast, accurate, and reliable. When it comes to an innovative digital partner, dentists across BC trust the name that delivers excellence, one unit at a time. Crown Dental Studio. Precision, innovation, trust.
Good day. I am beyond excited today. I don't know how the heck I managed to get any of this gentleman's time. This is fun. Mark Wagner here, DentalBytes. I hope everybody out there is doing great. And without further ado, let's just bring him in. Dr. Howard Farran, how the heck are you? We got into sort of the Canadian-U.S. relations. We got that stuff out of the way before we started here. How are things going for you?
Doing good, man. And it's like the Stoics say, you don't worry about things you don't have any control over. And when the world seems like it's falling apart, from the United States, China to Russia, it's like, what better time than to focus on what you control: your dental office, your business, yourself, your health. There's always been crazy times, and we didn't have to live through the Spanish influenza, World War I, World War II. Imagine living during the Roman Empire. I mean, what a shithole experience that would have been. So, if the worst we can think is happening now is whatever's affecting us today, we're living pretty damn high on the hog. And as always, just don't listen to toxic shit on the news. A lot of dentists get down; they start listening to toxic stuff, and just focus on your on your work, man. Work-life balance. Focus on your family first, business second.
Why is it? It's like a human instinct. Why do we focus on the negative things? Like why is it always that? Like, in your opinion, like, what the heck,
Well, I always try to get everything down to the walnut of the brain, which is, it's a resource war. Your only goal is to propagate your genes, and you live in fear and scarcity, and that's why every animal, pees off its territory and kills anybody that comes. Like, racism is really just tribalism. I mean, it's I always have a deal. It's like, if humans use the word with just humans, but not the other 1.8 million animal species, it throws up a red flag. So you just live in fear and scarcity. I mean, look at a squirrel. They can't get enough walnuts. They store so many walnuts, they don't even know where half of them are. They lose track of, their walnuts. And
that's how a lot of trees are grown too, actually, that they forget where they put their walnuts. So there's some positive effect to it, I guess.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so it's like a lot of parents will say, well, my kid's so lazy. It's like, no, after a tiger eats a cheetah, eats a gazelle, they don't go do marathons and push-ups and go to the gym. They just lay there and conserve energy. Your child is programmed to not waste energy. So you want to eat all the food you can and not waste energy. Today we call it obesity, type 2 diabetes, whatever. But It's
Yeah.
just the way we're programmed.
We're storing energy. We're storing energy, right? Yeah. Let's talk about that in terms of owning a dental practice, like the solo individual owner. We talk about survival. What are you seeing out there in your neck of the woods, people that are thriving right now? What top 3 things are they doing that is, pushing their practice into the future?
Well, I would say, like, when you say dentist, I mean, who are we talking about? Are we talking about some kid who just rolled out of school? Some dentist
You're right.
10 to 20 years?
You're right.
Some dentist 40, 50? And what I would say is that, I got 2 wheelhouses. My dad, when, the love of my life, my idol, my mentor, we were so damn poor. We didn't know we were poor. And then when I was 10 years old, he bought a Sonic drive-in franchise. And he went from making $11,000 a year delivering rainbow bread to $60,000 a year owning a Sonic. And then he opened up another Sonic every year for 9 years. And we moved from the poorest part of Wichita to the richest part, Hidden Lakes Estates. And my next door neighbor was Kenny Anderson, the valedictorian dentist from Creighton University. And I'd go to work with my dad, and I loved the business. And I would go to work with Kenny Anderson. And that was the technology today. I mean, we were taking an x-ray that went through the tooth and then going into a dark room and developing an x-ray and watching them do a root canal. I mean, it was so exciting in a world with no technology. And so I wrote my dental school in the 7th grade, How Did I Become a Dentist? So I've always loved the business, and I would go to all the franchise meetings with my dad. And the reason people pay so much money for a franchise, because you take a normal restaurant, 40 to 60% of them go bankrupt the first 2 years. But you buy $1 million Chick-fil-A franchise, and you're going to make money. So I always loved the business, but seeing dentistry from the inside out with business, and I went back later and got my MBA from Arizona State University just because I didn't want to be, I know my dental assistant knew as much as any dentist that rolled out of dental school after assisting me 30 years, but she didn't technically get the dental degree. So I got the MBA degree and I don't think they taught me anything that my dad didn't teach me between 10 and 20. But the thing is, they don't see market segmentation. It's just this one world dentistry. Like, there's 8 billion people. Are they all going to drive the same car? I'm sorry. I thought there were Ferraris and Toyotas and used cars. And you could take the bus. You could have a bicycle. You could walk a rickshaw cart. I mean, they, like in Arizona, if I do a root canal and it fails, they take me to the State Board of Dental Examiner, and they judge me by endodontist, who the insurance companies are giving $1,500 to do the root canal, and they were giving me $800 to do the root canal. So you're gonna compare my Toyota to a Mercedes Benz? I mean, right. Well, hell, if you gave me $1,500, I could have scheduled an hour and a half. I could have hand filed the whole thing. And the same thing when they come out of dental school. And when you come out of dental school, you don't know anything. When I got out of dental school in 1987. I was lucky there was a DSO out here. And by the way, that's another thing I hate about the word DSO triggers dentists. I mean, you say DSO, and they just start flopping around on the floor and all this kind of stuff. There's 2,800 DSOs, and the range of DSOs is between 4 and 9 locations. That's like 85% of them all. But everybody always thinks it's Heartland and Aspen and Pacific PDS, and it's like, just like shut up. That's there's a lot of amazing DSOs, and the bottom line is, so you're in a small town and there's maybe 50,000 people, and you realize, well, hell, I can't. There's no scales of economy at doing the really low cost television ads, because TV, it's really expensive during the Super Bowl or a hockey game or the NFL, but there's just $100 30-minute slots all over the place, and the implant centers, the Clear Choice figured that out. They could put on these 30-minute infomercials on when people are just scrolling through the channels, and they could put in an hour-long infomercial for $200 that covered the whole Phoenix metro. So the dentist realizes, well, if I just had a north, south, east, west, I could have the billboards on the only main highway that goes through town. I could be big enough to where I could have a full-time marketing person and a full-time accountant, comptroller, and a full-time, office, whatever the stuff. And but these kids, they come out of school. I came to Phoenix, Arizona, and Ed Silker from Minnesota, bless his heart, he opened up a DSO called Sunshine Dental. He had 4 locations in Phoenix, north, south, east, west. And when I got out of dental school, I had to do like 55 amalgams, 15 units of denture, 15 canals of endo, and 2 pulpotomies and some other stuff. And I graduated May 11th, and I signed my lease, and I started, I did the demographics just like Sonic Drive-In was, that. And I left Wichita just because I was born in Wichita. It doesn't mean I have to die in Wichita. And the population of Wichita was flat, and all the dentists that I had met and befriended over grammar school and high school were telling me that every year the population stays the same, and they get 50 new dentists from Creighton University in Omaha and University of Missouri, Kansas City. And every year they were all showing me on the west side, Anderson, Prepard, Knutson, all of them were just showing me how their income's just trickling down. And then I did national demographics, like where are these people moving? And they were moving to Phoenix, Arizona. And my mom's brother lived out here, and the weather's a lot better and all that stuff. And so I found the most kick-ass location, just like I learned at Sonic Drive-In. Demographics matter. If you don't believe me, well, when you graduate, go set up a dental office in Afghanistan, and after a year or two, come back and tell me if demographics matter. Okay? Demographics matter.
Crucial, key, and like any business for that matter. You want you want your foundations to be where you're going to attract the people. It's like it's a no-brainer.
And so I got a job for Ed Silker, and I was doing my dental school requirements every week for 12 weeks, for 4 months. I was doing 50 amalgams, 15 canal. And what was great is it's a group practice setting. So there was a joke. There was this amazing dentist there named Nick Gedwani. And the joke was that I would pull out the top half of the tooth, and then Nick would come in and pull out the bottom half. And after he helped me on about 30, 40, 50 times about how to get out a root tip, I actually mastered extractions to where I could literally take out any tooth I wanted to without failing. And so I got my skills up, and then I opened up my dental office, and then extended hours. I mean, the thing in where I was, all the dentists were open Monday through Thursday. So I was open Monday through Saturday. And I mean, I did $1 million our first year, and that was in $87. And I think in 3 years, I taught $2 million. And these kids come out of school, and it's like they're too good. They're too good to go work at a DSO. It's like they want to set up like a cosmetic dental practice in Beverly Hills. I'm like, you haven't even done a crown prep. You've done
right out of school. It's crazy.
And then they say, well, I don't want to take insurance. Well, you're lucky at a patient with insurance wants you as their dentist. Why don't you shut the hell up and get in there and start cutting? I remember after COVID, there's 2 dental schools in our backyard. There's Midwestern in Glendale, Arizona, and there's AT Still in Mesa, and they're whining and they're violent, like, well, I didn't even get to do a pulpotomy. I'm a solutions guy. So I call some pediatric dentists I know. Some guy had a big old Medicaid practice out of Phoenix. He said, if that guy came, I'll pay him, I think $400 a day, and he'll probably do 10 pulpotomies a day. And what did the dentist say? Oh, I don't want to work in a Medicaid factory. I'm like, you're a dentist, and you've never done a pulpotomy, and this guy's cranking them out 10, 20 a day. You're just lazy. And that's what I always see. It's like, and that is the problem with DSOs. Everybody that's really ambitious and has natural curiosity and knows that owning a practice is a lifetime commitment and there's no work-life balance. I mean, even though you're home with your kids, I can't tell you how many times I was watching a Disney film with Ryan and I wasn't following the plot. I was sitting there thinking what I need to do in the office, your mind's somewhere else or whatever the hell.
Right.
And so the aggressive and the hardworking and the innovators, they're all in private practice. So that really dumbs down, well, who's the people who want to go be an employee for 40 years? That ain't the ambitious. Those aren't the self-motivated. Those aren't the self-starters. And so that's a tough deal. But man, when you get out of school, like someone said, well, I don't want to work for Heartland. I'm like, okay, Rick Workman is running 1,800 locations. Every dentist I know can't even figure out one office, and that's the one he lives in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can't even tell me, they can't even show me their balance sheet, their statement of cash flow, their statement of, none of this stuff. I mean, it's like, are you telling me you're so egomaniac you don't think you could you know how many people, and I shouldn't say this because I love Rick Workman a lot. He is a great guy. But they'll go work for Rick, and after about 2 years, they'll think, oh my God, there's like he's got like 6 locations, and they fall in love with like this one office manager is the best, and this one dental assistant the best, and then they after a couple of years they break out, and he steals the office manager and he steals the assistant, and they go open up a practice, and they do $1 million the first year. And then everybody else got this bad attitude, like, well, I don't want to work, I don't want to. So when you get out, you're not good. You're wet behind the ears, and you need to do. And then they're lazy, like they'll say, well, I don't think I should do the root canal. I think I should send it to the endodontist. Really? So a guy that was born, did he do like 1,000 root canals in utero before he was born? I mean, when he popped out of his mama, he already had 1,000 root canals under his belt. I'm pretty sure that endodontist did his first root canal and it sucked. The first was the worst.
Just
and
like anybody starting anything.
And they spend all their time looking at the x-ray, and they want to justify their laziness. So like, well, the canal's calcified or it's curved. It's like, oh yeah, you can't do it, but 4,000 endodontists in America can do it because they sucked it up buttercup, and they got the 6 files. They took all the online C, and you don't have to fly across the country to go take a course. Like people will go to a week-long institute. I don't want to say any names. I don't want to get it back to Pankey Institute or Quace or Spear or any of those people. And I say, so you dropped a week or 4 days and several $1,000s in travel. That's amazing. Here we are. We're at lunch. We're at Arby's. Just I'm going to pull out a napkin. I'm going to pull out my iPhone. Just tell me exactly what did you learn? And they can barely even explain it. They can barely tell me. I'm saying, so you're telling me that a $35 online CE course on DentalTown, you couldn't learn it? I bet the online CE course on DentalTown was less than cap. But it's the same thing. Like I signed up for Carl Misch's course. I got my fellowship at the Misch Institute, my diplomat in implants, FAGD, MAG, blah, blah, blah. But the reason I did it is because I noticed when I was going to online CE that all these guys that were really, really good clinicians and had really great offices were FAGDs and MAGDs. And I didn't know one MAGD that didn't have the practice of their dreams. And I figured it out right away that continued education equals practice success. You can't sell a product if it's not sitting on the shelf. You can't do a root canal if you don't know how to do it. So I just joined the FAGD, but then for the MAGD, you needed hands-on participation classes. And for the implant section, I realized, because at the time, Arizona didn't even have a dental school or fluoridated water. And so I could go to Pittsburgh on 7 3-day weekends and do the Misch Institute, and then knock out my whole MAGD participation class, whatever. And so the first thing I did is I did an author search, and everybody said Carl was great. Well, he had a textbook, so I ordered it, and I read it, and I underlined it, just like it was studying it for an exam. And I couldn't believe when I get there. 7 3-day weekends, and in every lecture, the questions, I'm just sitting there rolling my eyes like, that was all in the book. Like you took off a week to go to the Pankey Institute, and you didn't even read Dawson's book. I mean, that's the whole guy. I mean, the book is $300. Your plane ticket to Pankey was probably $300 each way. And it probably might take you, if you have kids, it might take you 3 months to read that book. But so if you want to hustle, you can buy the textbooks from Dawson and Misch. And I mean, every answer to everything you need to know in dentistry is in a textbook, and they sell them online. You can just Google it, and then the next most expensive be online CE. But they're just lazy. They refer out everything they can't do, and then they don't want to learn. And I just say you got to roll up your sleeves. You got to suck it up, buttercup, and your first 100 implants are gonna suck. And you learn things like all your failures are on smokers. I don't care what anybody says. Do everything right. And that guy's sucking on nicotine, vasoconstrictor. You just learn, and your first 100, you had some failures, but you learn why Craig Misch won't do an implant on a smoker. Same reason they won't do the boob job doctor won't give you breast implants if you haven't stopped smoking for 6 weeks. And you know what they do? They test you at the day of the appointment. It's like they don't care when you show up for with weed, but you test positive for nicotine on your day of appointment. They check you in. They cancel the appointment. Yeah. And some of the doctors tell me that when you pay you didn't pay for breast implants. You paid for this 3-hour surgery deal. And if you come in and fail the nicotine deal, you lost your money and you're not getting the surgery because it's that serious. But you learn all these things. And another thing on market segmentation, these guys will open up a Medicaid clinic. Well, amalgams, a poorly placed amalgam will last about 25 or 35 years. But they're like, well, I don't like doing amalgam. So then they're building a Mercedes-Benz, and they got a rubber dam, and they're packing cord, and they got all this, matrix, and they're doing an ideal composite. And I'm like, wow, man. So you're building Mercedes-Benzes and selling them and you're getting paid for a freaking Toyota Corolla. I mean, so they don't see market segmentation. They don't realize that you are not going to be an implant dentist, a cosmetic dentist. You're not going to be all that in a bag of chips until you do 1,000 of whatever the hell you're doing.
It's so just like mastering anything in life, right? You need to spend that time to get there and hone in on those skills. It's how important is a good mentor too. Like, having somebody over your shoulder when you're learning as well. Like if you're in any situation associating in any practice, how important is that?
I think it's everything, because whenever you talk about burnout in dentistry, I mean, how come when you go to, how come Wayne Gretzky didn't burn out on hockey? How come all these athletes don't burn out? The musicians, burnout has nothing to do with your craft. I mean, you wanted to be a dentist. You went to school 8 years to be a dentist, and now you're telling me you're burned out on dentistry? That doesn't even make sense. No, it's you've been morally injured.
And I think it's people's like their idea of things isn't coming to fruition because they're people are kind of blind coming into this stuff, aren't they?
Well, the reason they want to be a dentist is because they had a mentor. It was their dentist, and they saw the dentist, and he owned the land and the building and the practice, and it was all, when I would walk into my dad's Sonic Drive-In, all the employees were teenagers. If you needed 3 car hops on a Friday night, you had to schedule 5 or 6 because half wouldn't even show up. Sometimes the car hop would take an order out and then get in the truck with the guy and just throw the uniform out and leave. I mean, crazy.
Right.
And then I walked into a dental office, and all the women are much older. They're all moms now, and they're all serious, and they're well dressed, and they show up on time. And I mean, it's all professional, and it was just a great deal. And that was their idea. So now they get out of dental school, and they thought they were going to be the man, the woman, the leader of the pack. This is my land, my building. And now they got some office managers, not even dentists, going over your treatment plan saying, well, that should have been a crown. And these are all crown opportunities. And I looked at your x-rays today, and you're going to see 9 patients, and they have, between the 9 of them, they have 48 crown opportunities. And he's just like looking at like a crown. And then they say like, well, a third of your new patients should need root planing and curettage. Well, do you go to a physician? And he says, what if I said, well, 30 of your new patients should have an STD? And if you're not, and if they don't have an STD, you just need to start treating them for chlamydia, whether they have it or not, because that's the way this works around here.
This is production. You got to have the production, right?
Yeah. And they're morally injured, and it's the same thing with insurance. Like people say they're morally injured. Well, when you get out of school, first of all, an insurance company is just a volume discount. Yeah, a guy walks in off the street, pays you $1,000 for a crown, but you sign up for insurance plan. Well, they send you 100 patients. Well, if you buy 100 of something, it gets a volume discount. I mean, Walmart doesn't pay the same for one Barbie doll from Mattel as you do. You're paying $20 for that Barbie doll, and they're paying $5. Yeah. I mean, they bought 1 million of them. It's a volume discount. But you know what? After you've done your volume discount, after you've been doing it and you're booked up weeks in advance and all that stuff, you can start trimming that back and start morphing over to the fee-for-service. Because it does blow my mind, like half of America has no insurance. Mm-hmm. And then you got to look at your numbers, like what is the cost of a new patient? Just divide everything out to a common numerator, denominator, a new patient head. And if you can get a new patient for $250 and their new patient treatment plan is $1,000, and your overhead is less than 75%, you broke even on the first appointment. So it always blew my mind that the largest overhead in dentistry, they always say it's labor and then lab and supplies and rent, mortgage, equipment, bill out, computer, insurance. No, your first category is larger than labor and lab and supplies combined, and that's called your insurance adjustment production. You charge $1,000 for a root canal, and you have to adjust it down to $650. So $350 of overhead was just for taking this volume discount. Now, so I got to ask you, well, for $350, you don't know how to get a new patient in your office for under $350 a head? The DSOs do.
Yeah.
And the DSOs are just multi-location group practices.
Yeah.
Again, 85% of them are between 4 and 9 locations. So when you're talking about a mentor, here's what these young kids get out of school. They call me up, they ask me from Midwestern AT Still on DentalTown, they'll say, well, I got 2 job offers, and one will pay me 35% of production, but I got to pay half the lab bill. And the other one will pay me 28.5%, but I don't have to pay the lab bill. Which one should I got? And I'm like, did you have a head injury? I mean, what if one dentist had already gone through 4 wives? No one in his office has been there 3 years. He's been getting 100 new patients a month for 25 years, only has 1 full-time hygienist, where, if a hygienist works 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours. So they can see 1,000 people twice. So at 40 new patients a month, he should have been adding a hygienist every 3 years. And 40 years later, he only has 1. And then the other dentist, everybody, the new girl at that dental office, the new assistant has been there 8 years, and he's a great person, and he understands the people. And if I was applying at a DSO, first of all, you look at a DSO, you can break them in half right away, and that is do fast food, like Ray Kroc, the founder. And they didn't cover this in the movie, but my dad was in Sonic. I knew the Sonic franchisees. I knew Dan Carney and Frank Carney, the founders of Pizza Hut, all went to the same church and ran and went fishing together and all that stuff. They did not cover this in the movie. I thought it was the most brilliant thing about it. They intentionally looked for a man who was married to a stay-at-home woman with 2 kids that went to church every Sunday, because they knew they were only going to give them 1 location. Yeah. And if you got, if we're double income, no kids, if I make $50,000 and she makes $50,000, we make $100,000. Well, that woman isn't going to make the $50,000. Now I got to make 100. And then you had 2 kids. Now I need like 150, 175, whatever. And he got their attention. You do it the same when I was hiring associates. You hire some dentist that come out of school, is good looking like you, didn't have any student loans, daddy paid for everything, no marriage, no nothing. He's always up there trying to cancel his last appointment so he can go hit the bars early, whatever. But oh no, you get the Mormon kid. And he had a kid in dental school. And now she's already pregnant with number 2. Yeah. She's never going to have a job. She's going to have a kid every year for the next 42 years. They're going to end up living in a shoe. That guy is to work half hour early. If you walk in and say, hey, will you do a toothache during lunch? He's like, absolutely. Thank God. I was praying for that. I remember my Mormon associates, we close at 7, and they'd come up to him. They'd say, it's 6:30 and I got a toothache, and she knows she wants to save the tooth. I know it's going to be a root canal and a crown, but they can't get here for 30 minutes, and that's when we're closed. And then that would take an hour and a half. And they're like, absolutely. I mean, they're ready to work. And Chick-fil-A took it even a step further, and they said, not only do you have to be married, stay-home wife, kids go to church every Sunday, we're not even going to open Sunday because everybody knows you need a day off to recuperate. The Jews took Friday, the Muslims took Friday, the Jews took Saturday, the Christians took Sunday, and Chick-fil-A is doing $5 million a year per location. McDonald's only doing 3. I mean, and then now look at the other end, like Subway. Well, hell, you can buy 9 locations. And Burger King, you can buy 11 locations. And Burger King, that's why every time you get the French fries at Burger King, when you dig down far enough, you'll find like half an onion ring or a broken tater tot. There's no quality control. The bathroom looks like a camel just used it. So when you walk in that DSO, the first thing I want to know is, who's the office manager? How many locations does she work? Yeah. And if she runs 1 store, then I say, well, show me the office, and I want to meet the people. And every person you press the button, Amy, nice to meet you. How long have you worked here? Is she saying 2 years or 22 years? And the hygienist, you have 3 hygienists. You have 3 hygienists. One's a temp, one's been here 2 years, and one you hired 3 months ago. And then the office manager works 3 locations. And then nobody, the oldest person in the office is the dentist, and usually one toxic person that the dentist thinks is perfect. Usually the dentist just thinks their special person is this toxic nightmare, and she's been there as long as a dentist, and no one else has ever stayed, including wives, friends, family, patients. Not nobody stayed. So I think moral injury is what's going to kill you. And moral hazard, you should absolutely look for a mentor. And what did your dentist look? Why did you become a dentist? I'm sure it was you fell in love with your orthodontist or your dental office, and you just walked in that dental office. You could just see, I see myself being this doctor. And, I wanted to be just like Kenny Anderson when I grew up. And the guy before him, my own personal dentist, was named Dr. Dick. Amazing guy, 3 operatories. His hygienist and receptionist and him all started at the same time. They all retired at the same time together. I mean, just amazing story. And so now you got morally hazard because you're doing things for money that you don't like to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realize this, but prostitutes have a very high drug addiction rate because they do things they don't like to do for money. Okay. Yeah. And the minute you start selling your soul for money, and it's money, and money's first, and blah, 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 and you start selling your soul, you get moral injury, and you get burnout, disease, and depression.
I see it. Like, yes, that picture right there is that's it right there. That toxic, man, oh man. Like, I see it over and over again, just this wrong direction, and it's your purpose is it's completely wrong, right? Like, it's all about, so paint this picture for me. Who's having success with, and what is their quality of life, their purpose, and like the meaningful work. Like, paint that success for me as an individual practice owner. What does that look like?
Well, I was talking to a lady the other day, and she told me that, that she really wanted to work at this place, but she didn't want to commute that far. And I'm like, girl, your mom moved from Pakistan to America, and you can't commute 30 minutes to work? Did you tell your mother this? She'll slap you in the face when she says that. You moved 13,000 miles, and you can't commute 30 miles.
Right.
You can move. You can move. Carl Jung, the greatest psychoanalyst of all time, just said that your whole personal identity is just because of all the stories you just keep telling yourself. And you could literally wake up the next day. If you wake up every day and say, I'm fat, I'm lazy, I'm dumb, I'll never go to the gym. You believe all that, then you end up that. So,
I agree.
So number one, if whatever means that you have to take this job and it's not your ideal job, well, is there anything good about it? Like, can you practice a lot of dentistry? Can you learn? Another thing, look at who was that guy? The Citigroup story. What was that guy who started Citigroup? It's where Jamie Dimon worked for him. Stan. What was his name?
Is that founder? Samuel Osgood, John C. Dugan.
No, it's he wrote a book. But anyway,
James Stillman.
What? No,
James Stillman. No.
Wagner or something like that. But anyway, the founder of Citi, the guy who blew up Citigroup, the guy who took Citigroup to the next.
I'm looking it up. It's coming up here.
The guy who grew Citigroup.
Just a chill moment here while we do our research.
Sandy Weil. Oh my God, Sandy Weil is one of the great sources. Now his Jamie Dimon, who's now the who runs Chase, and Jamie Dimon's bank made like 90% of all the profits that all the banks in America made. Where all the profits were Jamie Dimon, and Jamie Dimon was a protege of Sandy Weil, and Sandy got a job at Citigroup, and he just had one question. He said, "Well, when my mom, this is in Brooklyn, way back in the day, like in the 50s, he goes, or 60s or whatever. He goes, if my mom goes to the store and writes a check, how does that work? How does the money get from my mom's bank account into the store's bank? I mean, what happens to that check?" And he got a job at Citigroup. And nobody could answer the question. Now, luckily, timing matters. Started the computer generation. But he even asked the CEO, "Well, how does that work?" And he goes, "I don't know the details, but I mean, there's some checks clearing house or whatever." So Sandy Weil would just He was chasing down one check. And he went down the cashiers and the clearing houses, and he's learning about all the numbers, how one through, the first number 1 through 9 that tells you the zip code, map code from 1 in New York to 9 in California. And then he was looking at that and saying, well, this is a sloppy situation. This could all be automated. I mean, this could all, they could roll in computers here. And so he got a job, and he just started going through each department, completely figuring it out from the ground up, and then trying to work in these computers with this internet stuff going on. And before he got to the top, Citigroup was the biggest gosh darn bank in the world. And then rumor has it, it's hard to verify, but rumor has it that Jamie Dimon asked out his daughter on a date and was fired. And of course, then the Citigroup picked him up, or his competitor picked him up, and then Jamie Dimon Sandy Weill got old and passed away, and now Jamie Dimon's the king. And the bottom line is these guys know all the details. So you've worked at Heartland for 3 years, and you tell me that you're burned out and you don't want to work for a DSO and you want to go start your own practice. And I say, okay, great. I hear you. You're walking this patient out to the front. Here, why don't you sit down, doc? Sit down. I want you to check out the patient. Oh, I don't know how to do that. The little people do that. I mean, Megan, can you come check it? They don't know any of the details. They can't. I mean, here's Workman running 1,800 locations, and here's dumbass who's worked for him for a year and can't even check out a patient.
This is
and
just
they
wild.
say, well, there's no attention to. They say they want to learn the business of dentistry, but they never want to show any behavior where they learn the business of dentistry. And now AI is coming out. And AI, I mean, my gosh, AI is crazy. I mean,
crazy.
I went into the dental office. They had four girls doing insurance verification. And right now, the AI is it's bleeding edge. It's not ready for prime time. I mean,
not
it's
yet.
good
Yes,
on
it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
So,
it's taken Google to the next level, but now Google finally got smart. Now you do the same prompt on Google,
on Gemini,
AI mode with Gemini, and so right now, they say, back in the internet boom from '94 to the Y2K crash, that 6-year period, it was Windows and Intel and Dell and Cisco, and they just kept doubling. Everybody thought that the internet value was the Intel chip. And that turned out to be a joke. And right now, it's NVIDIA. They think the AI is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is just a chip. It has nothing to do with AI. It runs the background underneath platform. It's like right now we're on a Zoom call on the internet, okay? This is the application that sits on the internet and the Intel chips and all that stuff like that. And right now, NVIDIA is worth $4 trillion. Yeah, that's the GDP of Japan. If you think a NVIDIA chip equals Japan, I've lectured in Tokyo 3 or 4 times. I mean, have you ever heard of things like Honda and Toyota and Yamaha and 100 million people in Japan? Yeah. You think that's, So the fact that that's a bubble that's going to crash just like the first internet bubble has nothing to do with the long-term bet on the internet that I bet on with DentalTown back in the day, or I'm betting on AI. But the thing is, it's not here now. But I told this doc, I said, here's what you need to do. And I wrote an ad I put on Indeed. We need a full stack software developer, Python programmer, and we'll pay you $90,000 a year. Yeah. And we need to come in here and look at this operation. So he comes in and he starts looking at what these girls are doing. And he starts programming. You're not going to buy some off-the-shelf deal and then sit there and automate all this stuff. I mean, if you believe that way, and this is why group practice, multi-location, don't say DSO. They'll think the D stands for devil, a 4 to 9 location. And the reason I say 4 to 9 is because third location is the highest point of bankruptcy, because if you're a hustler, you're working hard and you're on the south side of a small town and you decide you're going to get a north side location, you can muscle 2 offices. Yeah. But by the time you get up to third office, you can't be 3 places at one time. You can work your ass off, skip lunch, work 7
It's like having a third. It's like having a third child, right? Like as soon as that third one comes along, it's
The third location is the inflection bankruptcy point. That's where everyone dies, because that's when you have to run off your systems. and
Yeah.
you didn't have any systems. You were just a hard-working hustler who was ambitious, and you died through it. And Greg Stanley pointed that out to me 25 years ago. He says, yeah, they all die on the third office. Don't even pay attention to them till they got 4 running in the same regional market. Some of these dentists are so damn dumb. They'll say, I'm in Phoenix. I think I'm going to have another one in Vegas, Albuquerque, and LA. Okay. Wow.
Good luck
Okay.
with that.
You got a private jet.
You got a private jet. Yeah,
crazy.
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So you sit there and this guy's his office. It was in Bakersfield. They're doing like $25 million a year out of one location, about 13 docs. And you know, I did that on DentalTown. It was just bizarre. I mean, even in my own company, you know, I retired. I couldn't see anymore. That's why I got out of clinical. I mean, I always had a hard time seeing. I had the loops, everything, the light, but you know, I got to a point where treat other people like you want to be treated. And I got to a point like I can't see good enough. I wouldn't want to be my own dentist. And I sold my practice. I retired. I did all that stuff. And I was 60 and I thought, yeah, I'll just retire. And I spent like 2 months with mom and 2 months with half my grandkids that live in Beeville, Texas. And, you know, went and lived with each one of my grandkids for a couple of months each or whatever the hell. And then I was just bored to flip in tears. Like, what am I supposed to do now? I'm a dog. Yeah. I don't have a bone to chew on. So I came back to DentalTown, and it was just amazing. You'd hire one full stack developer, and you'd say, okay, well, we put out a magazine, and here's a guy, and here's 2 guys that do this task. And they're, you know, and the programmer would sit down there, and in 3 months, he would just automate it, and you wouldn't even need those 2 people anymore. Yeah. And then what's getting really crazy is when people are thinking, oh, well, they could answer all your phone calls. Dude, that is the dumbest thing in the world I've ever heard in my life. We're talking about Mango and stuff like that. Let me tell you something about business in America. That's the opposite of dentistry, right? You go to any business in America. Let's say we go to Mays, Kansas, and you make a side baler for a tractor that harvests wheat and makes bales of hay, okay? The dentist in the back, the machine welder guys, the guys working the 6 machines to make the side baler, those are $30 an hour jobs. They come to with overalls on and a lunch pail, and that's what the dentist is. Who's the only guy in that business that makes $100,000 a year or more? The owner and the salesperson. The salesperson is taking all the incoming calls and all the outbound calls. That's the guy who's dressed like you, suit and tie, blazer jacket, shirt, good looking, good talker, good, and you want to automate that with some AI thing? Are you out of your mind? I mean,
yes.
There's not enough mushrooms in the world you could eat where that would be a good idea. And then I go up to the front, and the most important job in there is the lowest trained, lowest educated, you know, no train. You know, the dentist got an 8-year degree, the hygienist 4-year degree, the assistant's a certified EFDA, whatever, and then they hire a receptionist, and then they don't even have a training program for her. I mean, who was it? It was Jay Geyer, who made a gazillion-dollar business out of Atlanta, the Scheduling Institute, because he saw that 20 years ago, where he could just come in and he could just train your people. I mean, here's what we know in dentistry. So you do $1 million. Let's just call it $1. Okay, $1 million practice. Let's just call it $1. So you do $1 filling. Okay, and to do that $1 filling, 3 people have to come in and need a filling for you to present the treatment, so that one doesn't. Now, when those 3, here's the bottom line: one will do it because you're a doctor and they make God decisions. When my physician said, hey, Howard, you're 50, you need to go get a colonoscopy, I didn't push back on it. I'm a dentist. I'm not an asshole doctor. I mean, this was his recommendation. I did it. When I turned 60 and he said, you should get an MRI of your brain to make sure you don't have a little brain tumor growing, I did it. I'm 63 now. I went in there and when I was 60, he said, I want a prostate workup. And they fish a camera up your urethra. They take a couple images. You do this DNA test. I'm like, okay, I'm only doing this not because you're a great salesperson. I'm doing this because you're my MD and I think you're a good MD and this is your recommendation. So 1 out of 3, just do it. That's the average dental office in America. Whatever they're doing is just because their patients say, well, you're a doctor and I'm not. If you really think I need a crown or a root canal or whatever, I'm doing it because you're the doctor. I mean, when I take my car in to oil change. I mean, I grew up with 5 sisters playing Barbie dolls. I've never changed oil in the car. I've never changed a spark plug. And the guy came up to me the one at the time, and he says, well, do you want 30 weight or 40 weight? I said, buddy, if you don't know, can you give me a referral of where I can take my car if the guy knows? Because I played Barbie dolls for 20 years. I don't know a shitload of anything.
Yeah.
Well, if I was you, I would. It's like, okay, well, don't be giving me choices. That shit I don't know. I'm coming here because I assume you know.
You're the expert.
So then another 1 in 3 aren't going to ever do it because they're crazy, and that's in your own family tree. You go to a Farran family reunion, it looks like a genetic freak show. I'm surprised the CDC's not there doing DNA analysis. I'm like, what the hell happened to this family? Now, 1 out of 3 of your aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings and your whole tribe is batshit crazy, and they're not going to ever make a good decision in their whole life. So it's that other 1 out of 3 where if you know what you're doing and you listen to someone like Paul Homily, who presents treatment plans and got people to accept $25,000 to $50,000 full mouth implant cases for decades in low-income area like South Carolina. I mean, just a legend on how you present treatment. You'll get that other 1 out of 3. Well, that's a double. So when you're coming out of school and you say, well, I want to go back to school and work with my old man, but he says we don't have enough money, enough patients for 2 practices. Yeah, because he's only doing this 1 out of 3. Why don't you go back in that office and bring in Paul Homily and get the other 1 out of 3? But let's go back to just that one filling. So you need 3 people to come in for 1 to do it. And if you learn treatment plan presentation, you get a double, okay? But let's go to the phones. 3 people call before your receptionist can get 1 scheduled in the chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
They record all the phone. I mean, people will call up and say, how much you charge for a crown?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And they just hang up. I mean, someone just called your dental office and asked how much a crown was. You answered the question and they hung up.
They put out those stats. Like I posted it somewhere in our social. Like there's, I think it was like 2% of the 11,000 calls they did. The receptionist asked what their name was. Like yeah.
No training. Now,
it's not their fault, right? It's not their fault. It's the lack of training.
And in every business of America, that's the highest paid job. The salesperson is the highest paid job, and they're making the calls and taking the calls. And in dentistry, it's the lowest paid job with no training.
Right.
And it's complete insanity. So then, and that's why the DSO, that Heartland. You know what, Rick Warren, first of all, if you don't think he's a business genius, you're out of your mind. I mean, he told me 20 years ago he was going to be the Walgreens of dentistry. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I figure every Walgreens, there's about 10 dental offices. Well, I know I can create enough value for one of them 10 dental offices where they said I'd be better off with you than not. And he said, I knew I'd get 1 out of every 9. Well, now he's got a dental office. Now he's got 1 for every 4 Walgreens. Wow. I'm just amazing. And 1,800, and Walgreens is shrinking locations, and they've gone from like 8,500 locations to 8,000. So Walgreens is shrinking while Heartland's just basing out.
What is their key? Like, what are they doing so right that they're able to scale up that like that? What 3 things are they doing like textbook?
The worst thing that Rick Workman's doing is he's in Effingham, Illinois. He's not in downtown Phoenix. Have you ever been to Effingham?
No, I was just in Scottsdale.
It's in the middle of effing nowhere. Okay? It's like,
right. Okay.
Like in the middle of nowhere. They call it Effingham. It should be effing where? In the middle of effing what? And that guy, his call center, his only limit is the population of Effingham, and he runs ads and has recruiters for his call center. And what he does on his 1,800 locations, when that call hits a 3rd time and you don't pick up, it rolls right over and they pick it up. And in fact, I even got the stat here. I don't want to get the stat wrong.
While you look for it, though, while you look for it, I do see this. We're talking about
80% conversion rate.
Wow.
That if his girls answer the phone 4 times out of 5, that person, like they'll call him and say, oh yeah, I got a toothache. Oh my God, where are you? Where are you now? Do you know where we're at? We're in Awatuki. We're at the corner of 48th and all. You know where Safeway is? We're right there. I mean, how long would it take you to get here? You want me to come down right now? Well, you said you have a toothache. I mean, and here's another thing. Here's another thing that I got the benefit of seeing clearly because I just went and lectured to my dental school and then word of mouth referral. I didn't know 30 years later I would have lectured in 50 countries 5 times and the Asians and just seeing all the other worlds. But every hospital has an emergency room. When you go to Cambodia, when you go to Kuala Lumpur, somebody goes downtown and buys a 14-story building and they call it a dental hospital. And the first floor, they have emergency room on the first floor. Then they got general dentistry, pediatric, endo, perio, oral surgery, whatever. In fact, I did some podcasts on the top. I did 4 different podcasts on the top on location. If you go to Dentistry and Central, you can actually see that podcast.
I'll check it out.
And people know there's a hospital there. So they'll drive 4 hours in town because they know when they go into the big city, they know there's a hospital there. When they have an emergency, they don't even know the number to their hospital. When they're having an emergency, they get in the car and drive to their hospital. All the dentists doing over $1 million and all the specialists doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, they all have an emergency room. And I told all my patients forever that, by the way, if you're ever having an emergency, if you think you're having a heart attack, do you have to call the hospital and make an appointment? No. Well, if your front tooth falls off and you want to die or you're in so much pain you're going to cry, you don't need to call and make an appointment. And then we show them our emergency room. An emergency room is a room that no one's ever scheduled in because it's an emergency room. And the specialist, they have to have the endodontist and not the pediatrician not necessarily, but the endodontist or oral surgeon have to, because most of them, if they're going to have $1 million practice, have a baller practice, they need about 25 referral dentists. So then you call me up. Yeah. Mark calls me up and says, man, can you take this emergency? We can't do it today, but we could do it tomorrow. Well, now you're going to call another oral surgeon, and then he's going to see your patients. He could have just lost 1/25 of his practice. Those oral surgeons and endodontists, that front staff knows you never say no to one of your 25 doctors sending you emergency. You'll see them at lunch. You'll double book. You'll tempt the one you're working on and come back in this one. But anyway, we told everyone, we have now look at the front office. You're a closer. When I lecture, I go to every receptionist. Well, what is your job description? Well, I answer the phone and I get the mail and I post insurance checks.
I love the voices, by the way. The voices are great.
It's like no. Your job is to put asses in chairs.
Yeah, they're the sales center. Yeah.
Did you put in the chair? So when they're calling up, your office is sitting there. Lame doc they're looking through trying to find somewhere to put an emergency.
Yeah.
Because they don't have an emergency room. Yeah, you just skip that step. And a lot of doctors say, well, you don't have room for an emergency room. They don't have a room. Yeah, it's called an operatory. Superman worked out of a phone booth. Why do you have that big office back there with that oak table and all that bullshit? There's no money. I've never seen a doctor's office that I couldn't put an operatory in and call it an emergency room.
Right.
And you can go there and check out your own patients, all that stuff. And so now those girls always be closing. Their job description, I say, your job description is 3 letters. It's ABC.
I love it.
Be closing.
I fully agree. Yes.
And if you can get them from converting 1 out of 3 phone calls to a butt in the chair to 2 out of 3, you just doubled your practice.
That is the name of the game.
Your case presentation goes from closing 1 out of 3 to closing 2 out of 3. You just got another double. So that means if you're doing $500,000 a year, you're now doing $2 million.
Yeah, the front end of the practice is the bottleneck. It is it's abundantly apparent.
You think you're going to get AI and automate with some phone directory, some chat GP and a wrap answering your goddamn phones, you are truly a dentist. You probably think that if you have the best crowd margins in the world, people will just line up around the street to come to your office. People don't know, do they like you? Do they trust you? They know?
The relationship, right? It's all about the relationship. It really is.
My whole life, people will say, oh, yeah, you should go to my doctor. He's the best doctor in the world. And I'm just like, where do you go to school? What was his GPA? Did he specialize? Did he do residency?
Said nobody. Yeah.
Any board complaint? You don't know your ass from second
That's
base.
right.
If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like the guy.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
it was Abraham Lincoln said people don't know, people don't remember what you did. They remember how
How
made
you
them
feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did they like you? Did they trust you? And the other thing is the staff turnover. I never cared about the DSOs because everyone who came to my office said the same thing. Well, I went to this McDentals and they said I had 4 cavities. So I scheduled an appointment to go have them done, and that doctor no longer works there.
Yeah.
And then the new doctor said I needed 6 cavities, and then needed 3 on one side, and then I went back for 3 on the other side, and then it's a new doctor. And I mean, it's like when we had 3 hygienists. When you were going to take a maternity leave for 6 weeks, we just backed up all your recalls for 6 weeks. I don't care what the periodontists say. I don't care what the bleeding point experts say. It's like, I am not. You've been going to the same hygienist for 6 years. Yeah. And now I'm going to interrupt that with someone, and that, you know, your hygienist might have been a Nazi. She might have scaled too hard, and when you rinsed out, there was blood chunks, and she hosed you down with a baking soda. But if you liked her and that's all you know, you think that's a good cleaning. And then the next girl you come in and she doesn't cause all that blood and she doesn't use baking soda, and then they come out front and complain like, well, I don't even feel like I got my teeth cleaned.
I didn't have any blood.
Like, I know. You've been going to the butcher for 6 years. We should have kept you with the butcher because that's all you know.
Right.
And so employee turnover is the reason DSOs will die. I mean, imagine Walgreens. Yeah. You know, these DSOs, the average DSO keeps their doctor for a year. Heartland keeps them the longest, by the way. It's like 2.5, almost 3 years. Mm-hmm. But imagine if Walgreens could only keep their pharmacists for a year. How long would Walgreens and CVS stay in business if every year they need a whole new global supply of pharmacists? I mean, if you can't keep the dentist, so that's how you get your job. Your mentor is not going to make you do things you don't want to do for money. And he's not going to morally injure you and hurt your soul. And then you're going to blame it on dentistry and say you have burnout when nobody burns out on anything they love. Have you ever burned out on a hobby? Have you ever burned out on you know, you don't burn out on something that you spent 8 years trying to be. You've been morally injured. I mean, it's so easy. Yeah.
And like, again, to touch on that point is the business is retention. It's patient acquisition for sure. Like the front end of the practice being the sales center, but we want to keep these folks. And how do you keep folks? You get to know them. You build the relationship. You know, you covered it on so many different levels, but that is the nucleus of the practice. And like, let's take a look at what that patient is going to be worth over a lifetime, not just this snapshot of things. Like there's this push to do orthodontic cases. Like I see every practice and their dog trying to attract patients by, you know, doing clear aligner of some sort. I just like, why it's just this weird focus. And we should be focusing on the people and telling the story of the practice. And getting the proper CE so you can build your scope of practice and really enjoy your work, right? At the end of the day, they're medical professionals that can really make a difference in somebody's life. And I think that's where you avoid the burnout. So you follow whatever dentistry you want to do and whatever your passion is and just go for it. And don't think that anything's going to be just hand delivered. Like this is just a weird thing. Like it's all about the sweat equity. That's how you have to get there in life. I don't know. Like is that do you see these new like these students coming out and it's just they think everything's just going to be gift wrapped? Is that something that you're seeing in your neck of the woods?
If they got the right attitude and they roll up their sleeves and they're ready to work hard and hustle, especially if they got a stay-home wife putting a bunch of kids on the floor. Yeah. Dentistry is the greatest profession that ever happened. But if they're lazy, they got 100 excuses. They don't want to work. They don't want to hustle. They don't want to learn. They don't want to motivate. They got a bad attitude. I mean, some people are just unemployable. And those are the ones that always get stuck in a career job at a DSO because they're unemployable to begin with. They could have never done private practice. And if you do own a private practice, you don't want that associate, you know, so I can't believe we've gone an hour, man. I know.
It's amazing. This is I really, really appreciate you coming on. I was looking forward to this day, and here you are. And I hope we can do this again. Like I'd love to pick your brain, keep in touch for sure. I need to get my podcast on DentalTown. I'll get on that. Just final sentiments, closing thoughts. Let's do something more positive. Like let's
Well, closing thoughts is I started DentalTown in 1999, and that internet popped up in 94, and I was so damn dumb. I couldn't figure out what the hell Amazon was. I couldn't figure out what they were doing. And I remember I finally went to Barnes & Noble about 98, and I said, do you have any books on this thing called the internet? They only had 4 books. I got them. I read them all. And I finally got it. It's like, oh my God, the internet. And I started DentalTown. And so I rode that whole wave. And now here we are. ChatGPT hasn't even been out 1,000 days. We're at the beginning of this AI revolution, and it's going to be the most exciting 25 years. Like you talk about like implants. Like, are you sure you want to go to oral surgery school and spend 5 years learning how to do implants? Because Yomi is a robot that's already perfectly placed.
I know.
40,000 implants.
Yeah.
It measures it to within a micro. When you talk to a lab tech, you can tell if that crown prep is prepped by a right-handed dentist, a left-handed dentist.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing goes in there, and you talk about ortho. I mean, you can now go with AI from the Ceph machine to the software to the printing out the trays. I mean, it take from the X-ray, the diagnosis, the treatment plan,
it's wild
to print out the trays. I mean, so AI is not going to put any dentist out of business, but an orthodontist using AI is going to be able to do 10 times as many patients than one that's not.
You nailed it.
An oral surgeon that has 5 Yomis in room 1 through 5 is going to have 10 times the number of implants as someone not using it. So these are exciting times, and I think AI is going to, they say it's going to be bigger than the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely going to be as big as the internet. And we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the internet.
That's right.
Internet changed the world. AI is going to change the world. And I think it's going to be the biggest thing ever. And I just feel honored that just when I thought, okay, I'm an old dog. They put me out the pasture. I retired. I go out and die. I got to come back in and catch the surfboard on this wave and ride the AI revolution the next 25 years. And it's going to be exciting. So just get your attitude in the right place. Make sure you're sleeping right. Make sure you're eating right. If you're drinking alcohol and doing weed and eating Vicodin, or you're not exercising, or you're eating still out of fast food in a box and a can, and you want to know why you feel like shit, take care of yourself.
Right.
Eat right. Sleep right. If you eat, sleep right, and get rid of all the toxic people in your life, and if you're working for someone that's toxic, just say, okay, well, this isn't where I want to be. Just like when you were drafted to Vietnam. Well, yeah, I'm sure you'd rather be in Vancouver, Canada, eating Thai food than in Vietnam, but you're stuck here in Vietnam for a year. Get through it, practice some dentistry, learn some stuff, learn the business, check out the patients, get some crown preps under your belt, and then have a vision. And you're not going to burn out because you got a vision, because you're not going to practice with toxic people, and you're not going to do things you don't like to do for money. And dentistry is the most rocket. I mean, where else can you get a degree and be in the top 10% income in the United States? And me lecturing around the world, dentists are always in the top 1% years of education. They're always in the top 10% income, and they just have rocking great lives if they have rocking great attitudes. So dentistry can't fail you. You can just fail yourself and blame it on dentistry.
Yeah, I love it. Like that's it right there. Some personal responsibility, and we'll leave it at that. Again, Howard, thank you so much for your time, and man, this has been highly entertaining, and I love your energy.
It was an honor to be on your show. I'm a big fan of your show. I've really enjoyed it.
That means a lot. I really appreciate that coming from you. That's a big deal.
Keep up the good work, because you're doing good things for dentistry.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying my best. I'm grinding, so I'll keep going.
You're delivering it, dude. You're not trying. You're delivering.
Oh.
You're what's good for dentistry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a great way to go into the weekend with that sentiment. Thank you.
All right, man.
All right.
Have a great one.
You too.